the pains of starting up are real, and you can mentally prepare yourself for 1,000 things, but it's that 1,001 that you just don't account for, and it's like, holy cow.
All right, folks, Brotherhood Beyond Business podcast. I got Marc Caldwell here, and we're going to learn all about Marc. So I'm not going to do a big fancy intro because I'm going to ask questions. That's how we're going to get to know you, because I like to consider myself a conversationalist.
I do the conversation bit myself too.
Yeah, we'll get into it. So, and that's how I like to do these, like just as casual as I can. I got my questions right here, but we'll dive into it, man. So I got a really good first question, but I want to wait on that. So tell me about you, Marc. Like, where are you from? And I know you and I have talked about a lot of this already, but where are you from?
All right.
What got you in the area, all that stuff?
All right. Well, I grew up in Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama. Graduated high school, and I'd seen folks around there that had graduated high school, and I knew that the route that they were going is probably the same route I was going to go, so I had to do something different. Joined the military, the Navy specifically, and I did my 4.5 years in the Navy. Got out, went to college. I decided, hey, I need to be a Marine.
I thought you were a Marine. I was about to ask you. I thought you went in the Marine. Okay, so that was better.
Yeah, so I went in the Marine Corps. That's another story in itself, and I know you don't have a ton of time here, but it's a good story. So remind me later, and I'll tell you that one.
All right.
Long story short, I went in the Marine Corps. Was only going to do a few years. Allison, I don't want to say convinced me to stay in, but I thought she wanted me to get out, but it turned out she really liked the lifestyle. Even so, we stayed in the Marine Corps, and then it was the last probably 6 or 8 years that I was in. My oldest daughter, Brielle.
You have 3 kids, 2 daughters.
Brielle,
right?
Marley, and Chris. So Brielle, just the way things landed, she ended up going to 3 high schools.
Okay.
And so Marley, the way things landed, had never gone to the same school twice until we got here, and it was her 9th grade year. And so, she looked at me with those big baby blue eyes, and she was like, "Daddy, how many high schools am I going to have to go to?"
Man.
So to answer your question,
Girl, I get you.
The way I ended up staying here with some big baby blue eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and I dropped my retirement paperwork. But of course, you have to have an exit strategy when you retire, because although I'm old, I still feel young.
Always. I'm the same way, man.
And so I didn't want to stop working, so we ended up opening a restaurant. That was my exit strategy. Burrito Shak, Surf City, just had a 5-year anniversary.
Free churros, right? Allison told me about it.
And so we were weighing our options before we decided to open the restaurant. It was either going to be Florida, maybe here, Texas. We were trying to go to the places that were better for retirement, for vets. We kept saying, hey, we're going to have to find a new church because the one here is fantastic.
Renovation. Yeah.
And at that time, I was doing the run club, and I was like, well, we're going to have to find a new run club, which is a story in itself, because I didn't enjoy running until we moved here. And then they asked me to take the run club over.
I didn't know you were in charge of that.
Yeah.
Right on, man.
It's funny because you remember that bar, Hopsel, used to be on the corner over here years ago. And so
closer to Walmart.
Yes. And I think Deli Darling is there now, I think. So it's been like 4 or 5 different things since then. But there was only like 10 or 15 of us doing the run club. And this guy, one of the owners of Salty Turtle, he came in one night and he was like, hey, I was coming here, and every Tuesday night you guys are running. Would you mind coming over to our new bar that we're getting ready to open? And I was like, maybe we could split it 50-50. And he said, that's great. When do you want to start? And I'm like, whenever you tell me. And he goes, well, we open on December something. Like it's 2018-ish.
Yeah.
And then I saw him again, and he was like, hey, we're open if you guys want to come start running. And then the very first thing he hooked me in really, really fast. He goes, hey, I'll give away free shirts if you have some sort of rubric. So we made it like if you come to 3 runs, you get a free shirt.
Okay.
And long story.
That makes everybody feel a part of something.
Yeah.
They earn something just by being there.
It grew from like 10 or 15 people to.
It's pretty big now. I mean, it's a thing. Like it's the run club, I would say, from an outsider's perspective.
And what's funny is if I went over there right now, because when we opened the restaurant, I handed it off to a friend. I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this until we can kind of step back a little bit. And I haven't been back. So a lot of the new folks over there, the folks over there, if I walked in there right now, they probably wouldn't know me from Adam.
Yeah.
Except for the folks that are running it. I think there's a few of them that still. But it's to answer your question in a roundabout way, the church, the run club, and then we're like, you know what? Let's just open a business. And it has been nothing but good to us here.
So open a business. I love that, dude, because that's how I think. It's like, all right, well, how can I create this opportunity? Because I don't want to lean on anybody else for this. Even though there's, some days you think, it'd be nice to leave work at work whenever I go home, right? But it kind of comes with it. So you and Allison want to open a business, but together or even really separately, you've never owned a business before, never started a business.
Well, Allison's had
she's in
she
business.
had some at-home businesses, which were great. For the Marine Corps, it was perfect because she could take those businesses wherever we went. And so, you'd always tell your the guys that worked for you or worked with you, like they would always complain about not having either enough money or my wife can't bring her job with us. And I'd always tell them, hey, tell them to go into teaching or nursing because that transfers everywhere with the military. And then I hate that the business she's in right now, I hate that she got into it so late because that would have been a very good one to transition to for anybody.
Yes, she does well, right? Like just from what I see.
Well, I mean, and it's not even the money thing. It's just your health and happiness. It heals you from the inside out. Flexes. I'm telling you, man, it has changed. I look at my friends that are my age. I'm not going to say anything about them because I don't want to think one thing or the other, but I'm 54 years old and my 54-year-old counterparts, I don't do anything outrageous. I can't run anymore because of my knees. All I can do is lift and take the supplements that we do. And it balances all my blood sugars and all my gut health. And I can't imagine not doing it. Because I still sort of remember what I used to feel like because I felt so good for so long now. Yeah. It's almost hard to remember what bad felt like until, like, every once in a while we'll run out of, one or two of the supplements and you're like, oh my gosh, I think I'm coming down with something. Yeah. And it's like, no, that's what you used to feel like, dummy. So I say all that to say, I wish she would have found out about it. I think they opened in like 2008. Plexus did. Okay. 2009 maybe.
When did she get into it?
We were in Command and Staff College in Alabama. I want to say that was 2016. Okay. Yeah. So, and I kind of begrudgingly started doing it because, she's done a couple of things.
Support your wife, right?
Oh, I wanted to support my wife, but I felt I'm a Marine. Mm-hmm. I'm, yeah. And I beat my own chest. And
I would do that too.
And then I took some of the stuff I took some of the supplements and I just figured they'd be like regular supplements. You take this, that over the counter, and sometimes, more times than not, you just don't feel them.
Because you're told it's going to be a good thing, right?
Yeah. And she dove so deep into all the stuff that, to the cellular level, because we healed our son, which is a very long story. And I'm not sure he wants me to talk about this or not, so I'll leave it at that. But she did a deep dive probably 15 years ago into how to heal the gut. Yeah. And so with that knowledge and finding this business, it's funny how she even started the business. Because one of her friends was like, hey, you need to take this stuff. You need to take this stuff. Mm-hmm. And she was like, nope, I know more than you do. Her story is hilarious, actually. And then so we had this different doctor that we use in Alabama.
Now, right? You're talking about the doctor you use now. Because she's mentioned him before. But he's in Alabama where you guys are from.
Mm-hmm, he is. And so what his practice is it's basically a homeopathic. If you want homeopathic, if you want the old school modern medicine side, he'll give you that too. But she was like, hey, Dr. Strickland. I was about to call him Johnny because his name's Johnny. I was like, hey, Johnny, can you tell me what's wrong with these supplements so I can get this girl off my back? Okay. And he came back and he was like, actually, there's absolutely nothing wrong with these. Actually, they're pretty fantastic. Mm-hmm. And Allison was like, because she wanted to be able to get back to her name's Randy. She wanted to get back to Randy and be like, no.
Here's why these aren't. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she came back, and I remember she was miffed. She was like, gosh, dang it. And I'm like, what? She's like, there's nothing wrong with these supplements. I'm like, well, let's take them, But when I said, let's take them, it wasn't like, let's me take them, because there's nothing wrong.
Yeah. Oh, good. I got it. I'm fine.
I'm good with this. Mm-hmm. And then she started feeling a ton better. And she was like, you really need to try these, Marc, because remember all that training for marathon training I was doing in Arizona? I'm like, yeah. She goes, I feel way better now than I have in a long time. She's literally just getting better, and we've been doing it since 2016. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because they'll come out with new products, and she's like, oh my gosh, I feel better from this thing. So for me, I think it's going to be a lifelong journey with her business. And like I said, it's not necessarily about the money with that. It's just I feel so much better taking them. If we made a nickel from it, I'd be happy.
Be good, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, she's been able to take those. So like I said, I wish she would have been able to take that with us back in the early days, because I can't imagine feeling like this back in 2008 till now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I didn't even know I was feeling bad until I wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow. Because
I think it's interesting to talk about sometimes once you kind of hit, I'm kind of bringing it back to business stuff too. Yeah. But I mean, it matters in health too. Because when you talk about forgetting how you used to feel, like you can remember, but you don't remember as strong, right? Because you haven't physically felt it.
Yeah, first day of school. You remember that first day of school, and you think about it, you're like, oh yeah, that was pretty cool.
So there's this, I'm going to end up getting off topic here, but like with my second location, I have a lot of feelings surrounding when I had a second location and a lot of things I could have done better and all that. But I remember how great it felt to close it and just focus on one location. And I told myself I was always going to remember that pain of what I was dealing with at the time with the second location, so that I could appreciate the way that I feel now, or the way things are now more. No matter how hard things get, I no longer have twice as much stress. You know what I mean? But it's getting more difficult to be mindful of that.
Did you know that we were going to open a second location of Burrito Shak at one point?
I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah, in the beginning, we actually contracted for 2. And we were on the fence because the second location was supposed to be in Leland.
That's a little distance. That could be.
But we picked that location because that was the fastest growing
100%
town in North Carolina for the longest time.
Probably still. Is it not still? I mean, it probably is still.
And I just gotten out. My business partner, Joe, he was recently out. And it was like, well, what do you want to do first? Do you want to do Surf City or Leland? And we deliberated over it for a while. And what it boiled down to was he's still doing contract work. And he was like, it'd probably be easier for me. And I'm like, it'd be easier for me because I live like 5 minutes away.
Does he live close to the Surf City area?
He did for a while. He lived in the neighborhoods of Holly Ridge when we opened. And I think he lives in Summer House now.
Okay.
But it just made sense for us to open this one first. And I'm so glad we did, because after we opened this one, what we thought it was going to be like is not exactly what it turned out to be. Because you remember.
I'm with you.
So the pains of starting up are real. And you can mentally prepare yourself for 1,000 things, but it's that 1,001 that you just don't account for. And it's like, holy cow, I didn't know my body could work 100 hours a week. Literally.
I don't know if I can keep doing it, right? It's like.
And I think that was
or do it again to start a second one.
Yeah, so I think we're 3 or 4, 5 months into it, and that freshness of the first day of school was still right there, and the pain that we were going through was similar to the pain that I think you had with your second location.
Yeah.
And so that, I think, we're very similar. We didn't pull the trigger because the pain was so fresh. And like I said, we've only been open for 5 years. We've been open for what, 10?
12. It'll be 13 in May.
Holy cow. So you already had a little bit under your belt. And
I was entirely optimistic, and I was confident and cocky and all that stuff.
I'm not saying I would.
I still say I could have done it fine. It just would have taken more time, as you talk about the 1,000 hours, than I was willing to invest with 3 younger kids.
Yeah. And that's a big piece of it too. Family takes a huge toll on your soul.
Mm-hmm. I don't think you could have put that more accurately. On your soul is the way to put it.
I don't know. I'm sure you're very similar to me, because I'm a provider, and at the base root level of Marc, I'm just a provider, and that's not just money and a house or whatever it is. It's me. And I know I was taken away from my family. That first year we opened, probably the best year of our lives, worst year of our lives.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I own a thing now. And I've always had this, it's funny, my dad used to carry this book in the house. It was called Reader's Digest or something.
Reader's Digest, yeah.
And I remember, it was before phones, and
they were like this, yeah.
Yeah. Just laying around the house. And I remember flipping through it one day, and I saw this little statue that, they have these little things that they sell, and there's this little statue in the back of this Reader's Digest. I can't believe I just remember this. And there's a picture of this guy, and he's chiseling himself out of a mold. And at the bottom of it, it says self-made man.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to get those, and I've always not wanted to spend the $100, $200, $300 to, because it's just going to be me seeing it, because it's going to be on my desk that nobody sees. And it's just this guy chiseling himself out of stone, and it says, self-made man. And that stuck with me, because I was like, I'm doing this. I've done this. I did this. I did. And I know it sounds like a me scenario, but.
No, that's just what you think about, right? You think about the actions that you take to chisel yourself into where you are now. Sometimes it's fun just to sit and talk with people about it that have done things like that, to reflect on it and to be appreciative of it. When you guys decided to open a business, because in the conversation we were just having, it kind of sounded like we decided to open a business and we did it. But so you decided to stay here, and so you decided to stay here, then you decided to open a business? Or was there an opportunity to open a business and that contributed to you staying here? Did you guys have any thoughts about owning a business together as a husband and wife? I mean, you had a business partner.
Yeah, I think the answer, and this is going to sound contradictory because there's going to be yes to all of it. Yes, that we thought about it before we wanted to stay here. Yes, we thought about it moving away. It was, I think it depends on the day of the week.
Yeah. I think that's a real answer.
I'm trying to recall exactly when, but I knew that I didn't want to leave the area, and I knew that the jobs that I felt that were on par with my skill set were 45 minutes away at the base.
Yeah.
And I'd just been driving 45 minutes one way for 3.5 years, and I didn't want to do it again. And so I was trying to figure out, is there something I could do around here? And it was funny because Burrito Shak in Hampstead was the one we used to go to all the time. And I remember walking in the very first time, and it had a pretty good vibe in there. You know, it's got little beach music playing. It's kind of it was different then than it is now.
It was Highway 55, and then Andy's before that when I was in high school.
Oh, really? And so I remember going in there, and I'm like, this is a pretty cool vibe. And because I like the food. We'd lived in Arizona for a few years, so we were very in touch with our Mexican heritage. I don't even want to call it Tex-Mex. It was legitimate. Everything, half the places we go to in Yuma, I mean, you had to point because, and so it was like fantastic food down there. So we developed, it's funny, we moved from Yuma to Alabama for school, and the amount of Mexican food that you find in Yuma, it's just everywhere. It's just like, you know, you turn your head and there's another one.
Just what you eat, yeah.
And when you go to Alabama, you have to seek it out, and it's Moe's, and there's nothing wrong with Moe's.
Yeah.
It's just not what I was used to in Arizona. And I didn't even realize I developed the palate for it, because I was like, man, I could have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so Allison would make this sausage and egg dish for breakfast for us. We call it breakfast burritos. And so I didn't realize that I'd missed it so much. And so I think that was what kind of one of the other things that drew me to it, is because, man, this food is so good. I think it's a North Carolina spin on Mexican food.
Yeah. Coastal, because of the beach vibe and all that. That's a good point.
Yeah. And so the music, the food, I was like, man, I could open something like this. I'll never forget it. It's the first day we walked in there. I was like, I could see myself opening something like this. And
that's a mindset. Not everybody thinks like that. Well, I think like that in a lot of places.
It's funny, before I joined the Marine Corps, I was literally still in college, and I was trying to open something because I was working at Kinko's. I was assistant manager at Kinko's, if you remember those places. Yeah. It's like, I think I want to open my own business, because I had a couple of buddies that were...
So you had been thinking about that for a while.
I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
And there was this place called, oh gosh, dang it, Hops Microbrewery.
Okay.
And so it's a steakhouse and a microbrewery, and I'd never seen something, it was back in the 90s. And it was just...
Yeah, that was a novel idea in the night, at least around here, right?
Yeah, you're looking behind the glass, and you could see they're brewing beer back there. Like, holy cow, they're brewing beer. And then had the best Jamaican jerk steak. I'll never forget it. My mouth's watering just thinking about it. And so I tried to go down that road of, I literally was looking to open Hops Microbrewery. And my buddy Matt told me he had a friend he was an investor. And I'll make this quick. I'm tangent.
I mean, we're good on time.
And I think he opened like malls.
Oh,
that kind of money.
Okay.
And he introduced us, and he was like, that sounds like a great idea. Just let me know what you need for capital. And I was like,
good friend.
Here it is.
Right.
And so, 25, 26, 27-year-old me, I didn't know what I didn't know, and internet wasn't the prevalent thing 90s? Back then.
No.
And so
marketing's different.
Yeah. And so you couldn't just go, let me do some research real quick. Hey, ChatGPT, bam. Or just, hey, Google Box,
Yeah.
let me get some answers. And you just couldn't do that. You had to go to the library. You had to ask questions. You had to find a guy that knew a guy. So I started calling around. So the only thing I knew to do was call, because I was in sales. And the only thing I knew to do was call. So I called Hops corporate headquarters or whatever. I didn't know the difference between privately owned anything and corporately owned something. And I was like, hey, I've got this great idea. This is a great location. I've seen it in Jacksonville, Florida, but they don't have it here in Tallahassee, Florida. And they were like, yeah, we could talk to our travel team about possibly opening one, and you could potentially be a manager there. And I'm like, wait, what? I can't just open one myself.
They weren't willing to franchise.
They don't franchise.
Yeah.
So a lot of corporately owned places like Chipotle, for instance, they don't franchise. They used to.
I didn't know Chipotle didn't franchise. I mean, I guess I've never heard of a franchise owner. Chipotle.
A lot of these businesses that are big used to be franchises in the beginning. And I think that's what a lot of folks probably, they don't start out doing. I think they see the money, and the money just grows, and all of a sudden somebody offers you 20, 30, 40, $50 million. That you never had that kind of money in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, here, I take my Burrito Shak. I'm not saying that's what he's going to do, but I mean, it's tempting.
Yeah.
And so that's, I think that's what happened with, I'm taking a stab and a guess. I have no idea. I'm sure that's probably what happened with Chipotle. And that's probably what happened with Hops Microbrewery. And so that kind of deflated me once I found out that I couldn't do it.
Why the draw to like restaurant
It wasn't even a draw to restaurant.
or service or
I saw that it made me feel good when I went into hops because it was something different. Like, wow, that I could see that's a very niche market. At the time I drank beer. I don't drink beer anymore, but at the time I drank beer and I'm like, that is fantastic. They bring me this flight of beer. What's a flight of beer? I could try all their beers and I could have an amazing steak. This would kill. And I didn't even know anything about having a bar attached to the place because that's just extra gravy money. And so I want to say the way it made me feel coupled with the money aspect is what drew it to me. And then once I got deflated, I was trying to figure out what else I wanted to do. And so at that point, I think we had Brielle shortly thereafter, and I switched from Kinko's to working for child support enforcement. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that.
I left Kinko's.
Interesting.
It wasn't really, it sounds more interesting than it was.
Yeah.
It was more depressing than anything else.
I can see that too.
But only reason I left, because I actually took a pay cut going from Kinko's to child support, but I had to do something different because Kinko's they were open 20, they sent me over to the branch that was right across the street from Florida State.
Okay.
Because the manager just left. And
you have college kids coming there with a paper due at midnight or something, or they need
and everything in between, businesses, which was cool. So it gave you a reason
lot
to be
of people,
open.
right? I mean,
but the only problem was who you're going to have working the midnight shift that's going to be responsible. And so it's hard right across the street from university to find a grown up to work the midnight shift. And so what we ended up doing, we would have the best we could get working from midnight to 8, inevitably. If there was a party or a concert,
you were filling in.
I'd get a call. And so I'd leave the store sometimes around 5, 6, 7 at night, and I'd get the call about 11:45 to 12:15.
Coming in.
Joe's not coming in.
There's a little taste of business ownership right there.
Well, it's honestly that's what pushed me away from Kinko's, because I would literally wake up in the morning before Brielle woke up, and I'd be gone all day. And then when I'd come home, I might have 30 minutes to an hour with her, and we'd put her down for the night. And so I'd see my kid maybe 30 minutes a day on a good day. And that was Monday through Saturday. And
that would wear on you.
I would always get called in on Sunday. And I was like, something's got to give. I got to be with my family. This is not what life is about. I mean, I'm making way more. I was probably making twice as much money in college. And then I got the job of child support. And it was a Monday through Friday, all the holidays, all the weekends. And that seemed appealing. And then I think that's when the service aspect started coming back, not because of child support, but the folks I was working with were all retired military guys. And it was funny because they were telling me all their stories, and I would share a story with them, and it wouldn't be a Kinko's story or a child support enforcement story. It would be when I was in the Navy.
Yeah.
And we did this thing, or we pulled into Singapore, or I was in this helicopter crash, and it was, all these great stories are coming around. The new guy would come in, and the military guy that we had hired, months ago, would be like, hey, I know this dude from, this other life that I had. This is Mark. Let him tell you the story about, and he would pick a military story. And I think that's when it started to percolate. I'm like, man, I really think I missed this, and I didn't think I would.
Yeah.
Because I got out with purpose. And when I say purpose, I mean, I didn't want to be in. And because, you're just, when you're young, you have this idea of what life's going to be like. And the Navy was not what I thought it was going to be like, And granted, probably one of the better jobs I've ever had.
I mean, it's still valuable. Everything's valuable experience, right? Everything teaches us something. I feel like I've been through many swings of life's not what I thought it was going to be like over the last, probably since I was like 33 is when a lot of that stuff started happening for me. Before that, I don't know. I just thought I knew everything all the time. I didn't care what anybody else thought.
And it's funny. I try to give little tidbits to my kids' friends because they're old enough to kind of receive it now. But some of them aren't, because some of Chris's friends are 17, and I know I can talk to them, and I know they understand what I'm saying. I don't know if they're hearing me.
If the intended point is being received.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta,
because they haven't experienced it yet.
Yeah, because sometimes instead of attacking it head on, like, hey, this is what your solution should look like. You have to go, okay, I know I want to get in here. Yeah. Or get her there. But let me tell you about this or this, and then kind of make it over. So they go, yeah. But, I mean, it's not like I don't want to invest in these kids, because I do. Because like you, I used to do a lot of coaching. Yeah. And once you invest in a kid and you see him succeed,
That's rewarding.
you feel it right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you never let go of a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I like to share my experiences. But when their eyes start glazing over, because sometimes, my kids tell me, when you give us those lectures, Dad, and they're
You're like, I'm not lecturing, I'm trying to help.
But it's funny. I mean, I come by it honestly. My dad, love you, man. My dad, same thing to me. When I was growing up, he'd give me those lectures, and I knew they were. You look back in retrospect, and you're like, "Holy crap, those were life-changing moments."
Those are valuable lessons.
I should have taken that advice.
Yeah. I wish I would have recalled on those earlier and used those to my advantage.
Yeah, my house would have been paid off.
I had to learn everything myself.
I'm a learn it the hard way kind of guy.
Now I pay people for that expertise.
Yep.
That's like I have a business mentor. I even have somebody write my own fitness programming, and I went to school for.
Isn't it funny? Your parents give you all these wisdom nuggets and people along the way, and you just can't hear them until the guy that you're paying, the girl that you're paying. You're like, holy crap, I've heard this before. But yes, you're right.
I probably took way too long. Like with my dad and my mom got divorced when I was probably still in elementary school. Maybe it was middle school. And so my dad was always present. My dad was great to me, but he wasn't living with us. So it wasn't, I don't know that we had quite as many of those opportunities. But now, I mean, even coming up, we'd have some of those talks, but not a ton. But now I fully appreciate calling my dad and just talking to him. Now I also have my stepdad, who I don't know that he always provided a lot of like wisdom on purpose. He probably did a lot on accident. Biggest thing I learned from him was he didn't, and this is my stepfather, right? Like, I was a teenager. You're not my dad and all this stupid shit. At the drop of a hat, he would do anything for me. Like because of course I moved once a year for many years, right? Every time a lease was up or whatever, he was always the first guy to show up with a trailer and a truck and like help me move. If I needed help doing something at Breakaway, he'd come lay on the ground, get under a sink and help me fix the plumbing or whatever it might be. Like or at my house or whatever it was. He would do anything for me. In that regard, like supporting me. That was my stepdad. And now with my dad's always lived about 2 hours away. And he would do that too, except for he was 2 hours away. But now I'll call my dad and we'll just talk for like an hour, just back and forth about stuff and things that are happening in life. And I feel like I absorb that much more now than I ever did before.
I think it's a lot of times we're slowing down. And so we slow down enough to kind of take in some of the experiences we had and see them for what they were.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because I can speak from the man perspective. A lot of the men that are in a man's life, by and large, I'm not saying bad things don't happen, but by and large, a lot of the folks that are in most people's lives are trying to steer them in the right direction. Yeah. And they're trying to do stuff for them. And we're so blind with our own egos or self-absorbed or whatever it was. I was too.
Sure, I am some now. Definitely less now, but
I feel like I'll listen a lot more these days. I still have a little bit of my old self stuck in there that I could do this myself and dadgum, I don't need anybody to help me. For crying out loud. I was out in my backyard the other day for 7-8 hours straight and Allison's texting me. She's like, because I was chopping down trees and trying to clear the lake because I'm like, I don't want to wait. I want a path that goes all the way back to the marsh. I want it right now.
Get it done.
And so my neighbor's like, hey, I got a chainsaw. I'm like, I'm coming over. So I took his chainsaw on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I got cuts all over my fingers from trying to, anyway. So I'm still stubborn in that aspect, but I usually stop and listen more than I used to. I don't want to say it's age or experience. I just think it's stopping to, what did Ferris Bueller say? If you don't stop and look around, you'll miss it. Stopping to look around a little bit more. And when I look around more, I'm like, somebody's trying to give me a nugget of information. Should I take this? And so I'll listen to them. But I think that's the biggest thing for me these days is I actually listen to people when I'm out and about. But it's funny because we're in a different season of our lives right now. Where I used to be out all the time, everywhere. I could walk into any place here in Surf City and I know 10 people. And I'm not saying we're drawing back. It's just our goal was to have a homestead.
Yeah.
And you probably know this story.
I feel like that's part of it.
And I wanted it so bad, and now I'm right there, and all I want to do is work on my property, and make it the thing.
And if that's a sense of purpose with it, like,
and I think that's what it is. Yeah, because I mean, we've got the Burrito Shack, and I've got purpose with Burrito Shack, and I'm not going to say it just runs itself, because it does need a lot of steerage, but it runs pretty well on its own. Between myself and my business partner, I mean, that was a huge blessing.
A lot of people struggle. A lot of people, I think, get into business for that reason, especially with restaurants and things, or a franchise model. and they're like, all right, I'm going to open this. I'm going to be completely hands off. Everything's going to be great. Now you guys, you said you're not completely hands off, but you've accomplished that
Pretty
essentially, right? I mean, you do have a business partner, and I think is he there more often?
So
like day to day?
yes and no. But he's so we had different roles when we were opening the business. The guy we franchised from encouraged us to make sure we had our established roles. And Joe was doing contract work, and he said, "Hey, how about I do the admin stuff because it's a whole lot easier for me, and then you do all the operational stuff." And at that point, we didn't know our elbows from our rear end. Neither one of us had done restaurants before. And so we opened during COVID. And so all the folks that would normally do the prep and the pre-workup stuff to opening, they were all at home, and they were getting paid more by the government what any restaurant could pay them. And I mean, you just do the math, the basic economics. Why would I come and do all this work and make this much money when these guys are gonna let me sit around the house and pay me more? And so, I mean, I don't blame them, but that was something we didn't take in our calculus.
It took a while to open, right?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, if you think from start to, because I just remember a long time.
Yeah, there was let's leave names out of it because
yeah,
we were contracted to open at another location, and we were supposed to open like September. I'm sorry, they were going to hand us the keys of September 2018.
Okay.
And I remember it was, or maybe October. Yeah, I think it was October 2018. And I remember it was September 2018. We're like, the place is just grass still.
Well, yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't any fault of ours because we already had our loan and everything was pre-approved, and because we did the loan route instead of just coming up with 300 grand. It was very deflating because it set us back about a year and a half.
It's a long time when you want to open a business.
Yeah. And so that was going to be my exit strategy, and I was going to kind of work here and there. Honestly, it was a blessing in disguise, because if we would have opened when I thought we were going to open, I would have had it would have been that much more difficult in our marriage, because we ended up having to work more in the restaurant in the beginning than what we ever thought.
Yeah.
And the way it stood, I ended up having a double work, or double dip, I guess, if you would say. I would go to work in the morning because we opened in January 5 years ago. So we literally just had and from January to June, I would literally go to work in the Marine Corps. I would get off, I'd have my shirt in the car, and I would stop at the little 7-day store on the way off the base and get some food to eat. And I would get to the parking lot, change my shirt, and run into the restaurant and work until close, Monday through Sunday.
Through COVID as well.
Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday I would just work from open to close. And I did that for almost 6 months, which was tough to say the least, but it was tough. I'll just leave it at that. And I count it as a blessing because I only had to do it for 6 months as opposed to a year or two or whatever that number was going to be. Because we thought, like you said, we was going to be open it, and we would have all these people that were going to work for us, and of course they were all going to be fantastic employees.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you offered me a piece of advice that you probably don't even remember offering me, and it still rings in my head like to this day. Hire slow and fire fast.
Yeah.
You said that to me, and I still remember it. And I was literally walking out the door, and you were asking me questions about it. And you're like, if I could say anything, and you said that, and I was like,
learn that lesson.
That's a great idea.
It's a hard lesson to do with it's a hard thing to enact with a smaller business, because it means we're back in it usually.
And honestly, it was very difficult to do when we were trying to open, because we thought we were going to have a whole lot of applicants, and we didn't. Yeah. So we literally had to hire just about every single person that applied in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because it was during COVID. And of course you had this gigantic question mark, is this going to work? And you question yourself, you doubt yourself.
All the time.
And then COVID was over. We were still in there working a boatload of hours. And we had this, I don't want to say a come to Jesus meeting. It was just how about we pay our guys more and we take a little bit less and see how that works. And then we ended up
offering more, like in the job post as well.
And
attracts like people.
Yeah, and it does. It attracts different people, and then you start to realize once you get a good person in there, you're like, that person is not working as well as I thought they were.
The people that were already there, or somebody who,
Yeah, and then so it's not like we slowly weeded them out, because we didn't. They weeded themselves out, because a lot of people are naturally competitive, and the people that are being outworked, one of two things usually happen. They either up their game and they try to hang with the person that's outworking them, or they just quit and start complaining, and then everything goes to crap. And
I can't handle the culture.
And so we've only had a couple of folks that I'm going to keep up. And a lot of folks just quit or gave us reasons to say, hey, man, you should probably go somewhere else. And so now we're able to hire slow and fire fast. And I think we find the right mix of people. Of course, somebody's going to slip through the cracks and pull the wool over our eyes. But I think by and large, we've got a pretty fantastic staff.
That's a great feeling to have.
It
A
is.
security blanket.
And it's not like we see eye to eye on everything either. But having that pushback is exactly what you need, because if I'm so mono focused on something, or Joe's so focused on something, sometimes we can't open up the aperture and see because we're not looking at the whole picture. The folks that are down there in the trenches every day are seeing the whole picture, and they go,
this doesn't work.
This is going to happen. And you're like, holy cow. And so I'm so grateful that we're taking less money, because the restaurant's doing fantastic and we've got the right people in place. And so to go back to your original question, he's doing a lot more of the admin stuff right now.
Yeah.
And since I'm not doing all the operational stuff all the time anymore, it's kind of like a give and take. In the beginning, I was probably doing more hands-on stuff than he was. And now he's probably doing a little bit more hands-on stuff than I am. Yep. And so it's a good equilibrium. Do I feel guilty? Sometimes I do. He knows it. At least I think he knows it. If he ever says, hey man, can you help me with, I'm like Johnny on the spot and I'm running over there to go help.
That's important, man. That's a good culture builder.
So, and it's funny because he and I worked together in the Marine Corps for years. So I've known him probably 15 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah. We deployed to Afghanistan together. So I know him.
Yeah.
And so, that's your battle buddy. I can count on that guy for anything under the sun with my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's different to have a business partner like that. I could blindly go in and trust him with the money, or he can trust me with the ordering, or you know what I mean? And it makes.
I think I can relate heavily, although he's not my business partner. Silas has been working with me since 2013. Before we opened in 13, but he worked with me somewhere else before that. So I mean, we've known each other almost as long now. Yeah. Just from working together. Yeah.
That's a good.
And I would trust him with anything.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing you don't ever want to lose, because I know. It's not like I won't open a business with somebody else, because I probably would, but I would literally run it by Joe.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey man, I was thinking about doing this. What do you think? And then, or I'd say, do you want to do it? And if he says no, I'd be okay. And I would ask him, not even permission, but like, hey, would you mind if I did something with this? Because I don't know. I feel like once you develop something with another guy,
when you know how to work,
it's just one of those. I don't know. I think it's an unspoken thing that I can't put into words. But
I don't know that we would be that good at putting it into words.
I'm not
I wouldn't be that good at putting it into words, but I think the best word is probably just trust.
Yeah, I think it is.
Because we don't like freely give that out.
Now, would I open something else? 100%. But it has to be the right thing.
Yeah, that's an interesting answer, because there's patience there and an interesting thought process, because I think it's easy when you have an entrepreneurial mindset to be overly opportunistic. At least I have been. I mean, if the opportunity is there, I'm like, I'm not anymore.
Heck yeah.
As much.
I will tell you this. Once we got it running, I think it was like 3 years into it, I was ready to open 25.
Yeah, 100%.
Things, just like that.
You're like, I can do this.
Yeah, because, a self-made man.
Yep.
Ask my kids. Anybody ask my kids this, they'll tell you they'll finish it for you. If somebody else can do it, my kids I can too. And so I've been banging that drum my entire life, and I've tried to, the things that you say to your kids, whether or not they hear you, they hear it. So if you said it to my kid, pick one of my kids and go, hey, if somebody else can do it, they'll go, you've been talking to my dad?
Yeah.
And then they'll go, I can do it too.
That would make you proud, though. You hear your kid repeat something you say, that's a big deal.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the mantra that I've had ever since reading that Reader's Digest. That's only, and, but now I think the reason I wanted to open so many things was, one, because I got this entrepreneurial mindset, and yes, I can do it and I can be successful. Why do I want to do it? Is the question. Do I want to do it because I've just got this burning desire to give something to the community, that there's a gap missing here that I feel like I could fill? Yeah. Or is it the money? And if it's money, then I think the wealth question comes into play. What do you mean when you say wealth? That's actually what my point was going to be, was what is wealth? I mean, but to you, wealth might be something different than it is to me.
It's almost equated to success.
And I mean, you could probably snatch anybody off the street and they're like, oh, you got to have $1 million. Like, that's not wealth, man. That's just having $1 million. And so for me, wealth is being able to successfully pay every bill that I have a good family life, trust in God, and know that I've got everything that I need to make my family happy. And to me, that's wealthy.
Yeah.
And so if somebody
Yeah.
asks you, do you think you're wealthy? Absolutely, I think I'm wealthy.
Would that have been a different answer 20 years ago?
Absolutely. Because I would need to have, a Lambo, and
Yeah.
I need to have all these things. And I've got a paid off Jeep.
Yeah.
It's a 2015.
Yeah.
We've got a truck that we're working off, and I don't have any complaints whatsoever. Could I wear super nice clothes all the time? I could.
I mean, y'all were able to go get that truck though, right? And then your wife drives it. For me, that's a good feeling. Like, we bought Melody she has a Jeep, not a Wrangler, but that Grand Cherokee. It had a third row seat for our kids are still young, but she had a minivan before that. So it was, she wanted to feel cool again and not like she was driving a minivan.
Yeah.
That minivan was amazing. Amazing. I pretty much went and picked it out and bought it. And that's a good feeling. I would say that contributes to having wealth, or the feeling of having wealth.
That's in my mind, because 20 years ago, that wouldn't have been wealth to me. To me right now, that's wealth.
It's that going back to being a provider.
Yes.
I think has a lot to do with it.
Can I successfully do what I need to do? And can I do a bunch of the stuff that I want to do? Yes. Am I going to jump up and, hey, let's go to Italy for the weekend? No. That's a different level of obscene money. And that's kind of the way I look at it now. That's just obscene money. I don't necessarily strive to do that. Would I like to have my house paid off? Absolutely. I think my next level of wealth is house paid off.
Yeah.
And I think my version of what wealthy looks like is going to be, if you ask me that question again, hopefully in 8 years, that's my goal.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, that was going to be one of the questions I had on here was, with the kids grown, we really just dove into it. Does the definition of success look different now than it did?
It does.
When they were little.
And it's funny because my definition of success this year looks different than it did last year.
Recognizing that is important, though. There's a skill to that, or there's value in that.
And so right now, Brielle's getting married. And right now, success to me is paying off her wedding and walking her down the aisle and, welcoming Logan into our family. And I failed at convincing him to take our last name, but
just try hard, man.
Yeah.
I had that realization the other day that my daughter's not going to have my last name one day. And I was like, oh,
literally just having that conversation last night. She goes, Brielle's last name is not going to be Caldwell. I'm having a hard time with this. And I'm like, why are you having a hard time?
Yeah, you already changed yours.
You changed your name. Yeah. Like, I should have a harder time than you are. She's like, but she's just been Brielle Caldwell. Yeah. That's my rubric of success this year, is getting the wedding paid off, and, our land, getting it developed. That's great. That'd be great. A garden area and some chickens. And yeah. For those of you who don't know, we just moved into a house on Halloween, so we're working.
It's fresh.
Yeah, it's very fresh. So yeah, that's my definition of success this year. Next year, I'll probably have a different version of what I'm looking to do. Now, I know we do have one business possibility percolating. I think I shared it with you before. I'm trying to keep it under wraps right now, but I would 100% open up something else this year if the right opportunity presented itself. And I am looking at one specific one.
I have an idea for that I got to tell you about, by the way.
Okay.
It's a franchise, but it's really cool.
And so it's funny, one of my buddies, he actually does podcasts also, and he does franchising. And I was supposed to do a podcast with him, but some family issues came up and I had to fly to Alabama. And so we couldn't do his podcast. But he hit me up the other day and he goes, hey, man, have you ever thought about doing this kind of franchise? And I kind of forgot about the beginning of what a franchise would look like. I'm like, oh, that sounds...
Starting one, you mean?
And I said, oh, that sounds kind of neat. Or buying into another one.
Okay.
And it sounded great. And I told him what I shared with you. And he goes, check out this company. I just started working with them. And so the first thing I do now as a business guy or an entrepreneur, I go to look to see how much am I going to have to pay the franchisor in monthly percentages? And then how much am I going to have to pay in marketing? It was a lot more than what I'm currently doing. And so I'm like, oh, no, I can't do that. And so I'm so glad I franchised. I'm not going to say I won't do it again, but I probably will.
A lot more than your current franchise you're a part of. That's what you mean.
Correct.
Okay.
Percentages that we end up paying in royalties now versus what we would have to pay with that other franchise are night and day.
Okay.
Well, not night and day, but just enough.
Just more, yeah. And new pricing, all that.
Cuts into whatever your profits are going to be. And then it largely scales the version of either how much you're going to make or how much you're going to have to work at that place in order to make the amount of money that you want to, you know what I mean?
Or how fast you can get people in position to run it for you.
Right. And so I'm very grateful that we did the Burrito Shack route just for the business aspect, because it taught me how to run a business. And I don't feel like I need the help anymore. If I could just open my own business and I know how to do it with, you know, some growing pains here and there.
I think 6 months to do what you guys did is probably not very long. And you were good to go for the most part after all those hours for 6 months straight, which I'm not saying that wasn't hard or terribly stressful. And
it was probably
on you.
8 or 9 months to it.
Well, like, let's say you did it for a year, right? Like, that's still like, and you should be mindful of that and like appreciate that you guys did it together too, as a husband and wife, and you stayed together. Like, that's a big deal. There's not a lot of people with our current society that can work through that, fight through it, and still stick together. If you could pick one thing, which we never can, but if you could pick one thing that is the reason why it took you a year or less of owning a restaurant, franchise, whatever, you know, Burrito Shack, to get to where you are now or where you were about a year after, like, what is it? I mean, you talked about raising the pay, which is a challenging business move, but a very smart business move. Because when you have great people, they're, I would argue, the most valuable asset in your business.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, what is that the one main thing that led to you guys being able to do what you did for a year and then be able to step back a little bit? Because think about other business owners and how long they have to stay entrenched in the day-to-day.
That's a complicated question.
It is.
I think the best answer I could probably give you, if I had to narrow it down to one word, would be empowerment. And so a lot of the skills that we learned in the Marine Corps, and I think that's what makes us a little bit different than most business owners, is because in the Marine Corps, they teach you, all right, you know how to do your job. We're going to do an exercise, and bang, you're dead. Is your subordinate going to be able to do your job? So you literally have to train your subordinate, train their subordinate, train their subordinate. You got to be able to do my job. You got to be able to do my job. Okay. And so we kind of took, I don't want to say we took that approach, but we sort of did. And so once we realized I can't do all the ordering and all the cooking and all the cutting and all the serving and it's like, okay, we need to make sure that we have somebody that's able to do that. We have to have somebody that's able to do that. And what we found was the more that we empowered people and gave them more responsibility, the better they performed. Not everybody's like that, but most people don't want a mindless job, because if I just went to work every day and I was just like, you know, I've got this, as opposed to I've got a new challenge every day. And maybe I'm just speaking for myself or people like me or people like us. They're looking for challenges. They're looking for responsibility. And so we found that, and I think it's probably the folks that we hire are similar in thought process and mindset, or we're instilling that in them, or we hire so many people that have that same thought process, and it rubs off on the few folks that we have that don't think like that. And so you're kind of they're learning, teaching, growing. For instance, we had this one kid, I won't say his name. He started working for us when he was 16 years old, very first job, quiet as a mouse. I mean, just had a hard time talking across the glass. He was just like, what did you say? What did you say? Yeah. And by the time he left and went off to college, he was probably the loudest, most boisterous. Everybody that wanted to work with him, mm-hmm. Hard work ethic. It's funny because we'd laugh at it. Like, you remember when he started and it was just like this? And we can attribute it to a lot of different things because there was a whole lot of factors happening in his life. I know at least a sliver that had to do with us and how we did things. I'm not saying it was 100% us, mm-hmm. Even if it was 10% of us, I think that group of folks that we would hire that are similar to us, coaches, encourages, helps grow that younger staff that doesn't think like that. So I think giving the staff the ability to do the stuff that you would want them to do while you're not there, to do the right thing when nobody's looking.
To make a decision.
Mm-hmm. And we used to when we let go, it was very tough. They're not Marines. And so we'd literally pull up the cameras and sit there and watch the cameras. Are they doing this? Are they doing that? Yep, they sure are doing that. It just makes it a whole lot easier mentally, knowing that you can trust the folks that you're putting in positions of authority and power. Is it a 100% right fit? Is this person that I'm sticking in this spot the stereotypical, pick the position? Probably not. Is he making or is she making things happen the way that we want them to happen? Absolutely. Therefore, that person gets that. And so sometimes it's completely out of the norm of what you would think a line shift leader or assistant manager or general manager would be. But mm-hmm. Sometimes they bring a certain skill set to the table that you just can't overlook, and you don't want to lose those things.
Yeah.
And so I say all that to say,
Even when it's different from how you might do it, even though they could follow the system, but it could be.
And so we've given them as much responsibility as we possibly can, I feel like. And I think that's the answer to what you're asking.
Yeah, it sounds like you really learned how to take an SOP, and standard operating procedure, what I call an SOP or a system.
Me too.
And I'm sure Burrito Shak supplied a lot of those.
They
through
did.
all of their trial and error, right? Like they learned good systems for implementing this, and then you follow it. But it also sounds like from the military, you learned very well how to delegate, but also like delegate, not abdicate. So you wouldn't just say, here's the system, read it, let me know if you have any questions, right? There's a process to training and building them into it so they can effectively own it on their own, and then make, at least if they're not a manager, make some sort of surface level decisions on their own through the empowerment that you talk about. But the big thing that I took from everything you just said is it sounds like you've built a very specific kind of culture there. You and your business partner have built a very specific culture there. Like you could say like of performance, but I don't know if that's the right word, because it's not like they're playing on a football team or something. It's not a finance or a sales job or a corporate job, but more of just like, here's the standard that we set, and either you're as I think maybe as empathetically as possible, you're going to come up to that standard, or it's just not a good fit.
Well, I will tell you this. If you go to most other restaurants, there's no knock on them. Most restaurants, when you go into their kitchen or their back areas, they're not the same as what ours is. And we didn't want to have your standard kitchen where people are yelling at each other and it's just like a salty sailor. Our folks know we love them. I mean, we literally try to love on them as best we can, give them as much help as we can, and then give them as much responsibility as they can. So we're like, hey, here's the rope. Tug on it if you need it, and I'm going to come help you. But if you keep asking me the same question, I'm going to ask you, why can't you do this on your own? And then it usually leads to something else. And that's usually when they go, holy cow, I can do this.
Yeah.
I don't have to keep asking questions. Because I mean, inevitably, in the beginning, you're gonna hire somewhere between a 16 and a 24-year-old. And every once in a while, you'll find that person that's out of that age range, that's looking for
entry-level work.
That career. We found a few of them that are looking for that career, and they work out really well. Some of them don't. But once you get them to that point where they can think for themselves, I think it's not like I'm trying to keep every single employee that comes in there to work for us. I'm realistic enough to know not every single one of them are going to stay.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to stay because I want them to grow. I want them to get better. I want them to, it's kind of like if you coach a little league football team, you want these guys to, they're not going to be on your team next year.
Yeah.
Or they're going to move and they're going to be, but you want to see that kid succeed. And I think that's what we try to do, is try to help them understand that we want to see you succeed. And if that means me writing you a reference to go to college, to go to this next bigger job, if you give me a reason to write that reference, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to write you something that's out of this world. And I've established whatever reputation the community has for me, and whatever reputation my business partner has in the community, whatever that weight carries is the reference that you're going to get. And so if you're asking me, I'm going to give you that reference regardless. My goal is to help them understand that we love them, and we're going to give them enough responsibility, and they have a tendency to not want to let you down.
Yep.
I think that's
they know you care, for sure.
And so I think they know we care. We do these monthly team meetings, and we found this board game called Throw Burrito, or something. I think that's the name of it. And it comes with these little squidgy burritos.
Of course, it's burritos. That's
And so I got the game set, and Joe got the game set. And what we used to do, because we'd name the employee of the month at the end of the meeting. So what we'd do at the beginning of the meeting, everybody would be sitting at tables, and so we'd go set one burrito on each one of the tables. And then the rule, like the unspoken rule, was whoever got employee of the month, and the employee of the month is Joe. Whoever was closest to that burrito, pick the burrito up and throw them at Joe. So it was, so everybody kind of got a kick out of doing something like that, because they got to hit somebody with something. It's not like you're hurting them.
Yeah.
Because it's just a little squishy.
Yeah.
And it was little stupid stuff like that. Buy your guys coffee. Go buy them donuts. Do something for them that they're not asking for. It's kind of like, I'm getting ready to say this out loud, and I haven't been doing it as much. Your wife didn't ask for flowers. Just go get her some flowers. Go get something that you know is going to make her feel like, all right.
Show them that you were thinking about them.
Yeah. And so I think your employees are the same way. If you treat No, don't treat them like your wife, but just show them that you care. All of a sudden they start caring. By and large, they start caring. 16, 17-year-olds, maybe not so much, but you do reach them on a certain level.
Yeah.
If they're around all the other folks going, holy cow, Joe went and bought me bought the whole shift coffee the other day. I've never had a job where people do that before. And the 16, 17-year-olds are like, really? They don't do that at every job you go to?
Yeah.
No. And so it's fun to kind of be able to do that stuff to kind of help people grow and find themselves. And if that means they have enough confidence to go apply for a job that's making twice what they're making at the restaurant, I'll help you do it,
Always.
So I think that's a piece of I think that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I think that's the culture that you're driving. Like, it's a culture where the boss actually cares. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's very important to people who work for you too.
Mm-hmm. And
sometimes the interesting parallel with the wife is that maybe this is just me, but as a man, sometimes it's easier to remember to do those things for your employees than it is for your wife. Which is a bad thing. It's not because my wife is number one. It's almost like because you have a financial obligation almost to do it for your employees, that it's more upfront sometimes, and that takes up some of that space.
And it's funny because, it's not that I ever forget that my wife's a smoke show, because she's freaking hottie McTottie, and I want to do everything I can for her.
Yeah.
I see her every single day, all the time. I don't think I neglect her. I mean, sometimes I feel like, holy crap. Like yesterday, I went and gave her a big hug. And I'm like, she's like, everything okay? I'm like, yeah, we've been in the same house the whole time today. We didn't do anything because it was just nasty outside.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's not like I was ignoring you. I just didn't feel like we're sitting on both ends of the couch and one of us is surfing while the game's on. And so I know I don't always treat her the same way I would treat some of the employees. But I mean, it's the same thing from her in reverse. I'm right there every single day. Not that we take each other for granted, but I'm sure we probably do.
We probably do, yeah. I mean, I'm sure Melody and I do, especially when you're raising kids or grown kids.
So guys, don't forget your wives.
I do. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Time.
Appreciate it.
Maybe we'll do it again, then we can get more into the land and stuff like that, like
absolutely
next potential steps.
I'm down.
Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay locked in. Brotherhood is more than business. It's about leading from the front, leveling up in every domain, and becoming the CEO of your own life. Step up, execute, and we'll see you in the next one.